What it is, what it do, and how the hell are all of you? With yours truly, Petrov, fucker back with another mother lover. You already know the deal. So we gonna jump into some local news today, mainly because I think that the local news right now does make a big difference nationally, especially because the defund the police started in Minneapolis. Other bigger cities may have jumped on, but that whole speech started here. Minneapolis voted twice to defund the police. I think the second time was just to be a dick. But we're going to jump right on into some articles. And this is a conversation between Virginia Allen of the Daily Signal and John Hinderaker. He is the president of the Minnesota Policy Organization, Center of the American Experiment. Now, he's we gonna keep it a buck. He's a conservative. I don't know what Virginia Allen is, but we're going to keep it a buck like we always do. Allen, before we get into what is happening on the ground in Minneapolis, in the wake of George Floyd's death, could you just take a minute to briefly explain what the Center of American Experiment does? What is really your primary mission? Hinderaker, we are a policy organization conventionally referred to as a think tank. We are the conservative policy organization in Minnesota. We're aggressive for a think tank. We put up billboards, we put ads on the radio, we write tons of op-eds. We are active all over the state of Minnesota as we try to swing public opinion to the right. Like I said, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm down with that. Makes sense. Want to get people to swing to the right? Hell yeah. Allen, tell us a little bit specifically about the kind of politics dynamics in Minneapolis. I'm an East Coaster. I don't know a ton about Minnesota as a state and the kind of politics leaning of the state, so just fill us in. Minneapolis is a pretty progressive community. Hinderaker's going to keep it $1.50. It's ridiculously left-wing, not to sugarcoat it. Minnesota is like so many states where there's a sharp divide between urban and rural. The Twin Cities metropolitan area is generally pretty liberal. And in the greater Minnesota, the rest of the state is conservative, getting more conservative all the time. And that is facts. Facts. Say it with your boy. Facts. Within the Twin Cities metro, the city of Minneapolis itself is left-wing. You could compare it to Seattle and Portland. Facts. This is Rep. Ilhan-Omar's district. She represents Minneapolis and some fierce first-tier suburbs. So what he means by first-tier suburbs is the suburbs that are right outside of Minneapolis, such as Brooklyn Park, New Hope, Edina. Probably not Edina. Highly doubt Edina. But just the idea of Brooklyn Park. I know Ilhan-Omar barely won Brooklyn Park 2 years ago, or whenever she won. So the suburbs don't really put Ilhan-Omar like that. We've talked about that before. We're gonna get into that later in this episode. Moving on, you would know the deal. And so that's the basic landscape. And the suburbs are swing territory, but those cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul are really on the left. They really are. That's why Governor Walz and Mayor Frey helped ruin Minneapolis with their progressive decisions on letting the 3rd precinct get taken over by Antifa. Allen, so on May 25th, Floyd is killed by a police officer. And wow, does it not take long at all before there are literally cries in the streets from protesters, rioters demanding that Minneapolis Police Department is defunded. And at the end of June, the city council did vote unanimously to defund the police department. But what exactly does that mean? I mean, surely that doesn't mean at all the law enforcement in Minneapolis can just go away overnight. I mean, can you explain a little about what the vote actually changed in the city of Minneapolis? Hinderaker. Well, that's a good question, Virginia. There's really no clear answer. Part of the background here is that Minneapolis City Charter requires the city to fund and maintain the police department of a certain size as percentage of the population of the city. So the Minneapolis City Council cannot legally defund the police department. Oh, and the charter filed, I don't know if it was like a complaint or something, but basically, there will not be a vote in Minneapolis to defund the police this November. Win for the charter. So this resolution that they passed is intended to sort of take steps in the direction via an amendment to the Minneapolis City Charter, which is proponents wanted to have on the ballot in November. Didn't happen. There's something called the Minneapolis Charter Commission. And so this resolution went to them. And just a day or so ago, they voted, I think 10-5, not to put this issue on the ballot for November. Bow wow. I'm having too much fun with this. I'm sorry. Have it with me, man. Light that bowl, take a bite of your snack, light or drink something, and have a laugh. And apparently, they've just got the board they've just got broad discretion to say no, we're not going to do that. Alan, wow. Hinderaker, I think their hope is that things cool down and that nothing really stupid happens. So as of right now, it's not like police are being laid off and sent home. This is where it's going to get serious. Serious, yeah. Hinderaker, well, actually, that's a great question too, because what's happening is police are retiring. Police are going on long-term disability. The city canceled an incoming class of trainees. So apparently that's a year's worth of police officers that won't be brought on board. And the effective police force in Minneapolis, and the effective police force in Minneapolis, I believe, has now dropped below the level that is mandated by the city charter. So I'm assuming the city is going to have to pay some funds. Yeah, remember when homeboy Petrov said, you can't defund the police, you're going to have to fund the police. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I think that's what's going to have to happen. I think Minneapolis, if the mandated police aren't there, the charter's probably going to sue the city of Minneapolis. So where that goes here, we really don't know. That's what Hinderaker finished with. Alan, what are the locals saying? Is the kind of tone that you're getting from most people in Minneapolis like, yeah, this is good. The police department should be smaller. We should cut off funding. Or are they saying, wait a second, when I call 911, I actually want someone to be on the other end of the call? Hinderaker, yeah, well, it depends on where in Minneapolis you live. In the wealthy southern west part of the city, for example, you probably got a Black Lives Matter sign in your yard and are happy to talk about defunding the police. I believe Tim calls that a well-educated white person. And by Tim, I mean Tim Pool. Because he's even said a lot of the people that are out here protesting this are college-educated white people. So, yeah. Well, then he goes, he continues, if you're one of the black residents in North Minneapolis, you're probably clamoring for more police support. Those are the people who know that they need the police, and they need them in their neighborhoods, and they want more policing, not less. But just let me add to this, Virginia, because one of the things that my organization, Center of America Experiment, does is quarterly polling in Minnesota. And we've polled these issues and these police issues rather extensively. And what we find is that about 85% of Minnesotans support their local police department. We phrase that a couple different ways, but that's a fair paraphrase. About 85% statewide support their local police departments. They certainly don't want to defund it. But the two places in Minnesota where that's not true, where our police departments really don't have majority support, are the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. So do you have some kind of eccentric ideology there that's really anti-law enforcement? Alan, anti-crime-wise, what is happening in those cities right now? Hinderaker, crime has jumped. I mean, if you see a map, somebody has been maintaining a map with a yellow dot on it wherever there's an episode of gunfire occurring within the city limits of Minneapolis. And it's unbelievable. I mean, the city is practically covered in yellow dots. Homicides are up. Violent crime is up. Non-violent crime is up as well, as you would expect. The city this was called the Ferguson effect when it happened following the riots in Ferguson, Missouri. And now it's the Minneapolis effect. When you have that kind of broad attack on law enforcement, police officers understandably pull back. And they don't do as much discretionary work. And so stops, all kinds of traffic stops on the street are down by 70, 80, 90%. And when that happens, you inevitably will see a spike in crime rate. Like I've said before, the police won't show up. They'll show up after it's done. That's one of the issues that's going to happen with defunding the police. I'm just not going to go much further with it, but Alan, how are city leaders responding to that? Do they recognize this is a problem? And do we need to actually do something and begin supporting our police department again? Hinderaker, it's really interesting because the last 40 years, every single person who has any responsibility for the MPD has been a Democrat, and that's true today. These members of city council, they run against the police department when they're running for office. They run against the police department when they are running for office, but there isn't anybody who can change the Minneapolis the police department. There's nobody in the world who can do anything about the MPD except the mayor and the city council of the city of Minneapolis. It's their police department, and they refuse to take any responsibility for it. So it's really a dysfunctional situation. Jacob Fry, the bully mayor, I call him, he's 36 or 37, something like that, or of the city of Minneapolis, is on the outs with the far left right now because at the big public gathering he said that he is not in favor of disbanding Minneapolis Police Force, which is, I think, the only sane position you can take. He was booed off the stage. They literally made him take the walk of shame. So, we're going to move on. But that's, like I brought up this before, like, this is not a joke. This is not something we take lightly. As parents, as adults, I don't think any of us should take this lightly. I'm not saying that police do not need to be checked. I'm not saying that the police unions do not need to be, again, checked, put in their place. And yeah, cops do need to have some kind of immunity, but they don't need to have blanket immunity over everything that they ever could do. And yes, the bad cops need to be pointed out by the cops that are good, supposedly. Like I've said before, I've never met a good cop, but I do hold out hope. I am willing to listen to police reform. That's really all I got for that one. And to keep it moving, I've got a lot of articles here, like a lot. Now, this is a different one because this I think shows some serious rationality and a serious change in, I don't know how to say it. I think there's a change in the air. You know what I'm saying? Star Tribune, Minnesota's largest newspaper, endorsed Antone, Melton, Meaux. They endorsed him. They gave him the endorsement. Now, we still got to get through August 11th. They're saying some of the ballots could take a week before they're even counted. Now, I don't like that, but I can only pray that on August 11th, Ilhan-Omar gets primaried. The Star Tribune, Minnesota's largest newspaper, endorsed Ilhan-Omar's primary opponent, citing the challenger's integrity and progress as the primary reason to vote the incumbent out of office. I highly doubt there's many newspapers going after anybody in the squad. Star Tribune, you just got some cojones from me, my man. Or my people, whatever you want to be called, I guess. Omar's hometown paper said on Wednesday, the editorial that Democratic Party primary challenger Antone, Melton, Meaux. I say Meaux. It's Antone, Melton, Meaux to me, man. Would be better suited to represent the district in Congress. Omar, the paper argued, is overly focused on picking fights with Republicans and pushing fringe causes. Omar's anti-Semitic rhetoric and penchant for backing far-left causes has isolated her in Congress and undermined her ability to represent her district. Omar has repeatedly picked fights with Israel and its Jewish American supporters. Democratic leaders in Congress have distanced themselves from Omar's anti-Semitic rhetoric, and her alliance with fellow squad members Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have been met with antipathy by many in her party. Melton Meaux, on the other hand, seeks to forge alliances, the Star Tribune said. While Omar wants to lead the movement, Melton Meaux seeks to serve the 5th District. The paper wrote, there are many ways to fight for change, few of them easy when tackling entrenched systems and interests. Omar says she will fight hard for